Hey everyone, welcome to Shunya One, episode 187. Today I had a very interesting chat with an old friend, Piyush Ranjan, who is the CTO at Coverfox, someone who has also been a part of the India startup ecosystem with some very, very iconic companies at the early stage. I mean, all the way from Clevertap to Ola to Browser Stack to Coverfox today. We had a really good chat talking through the early days of those companies, his role as a builder, as an engineer, tech challenges, all the way to what Coverfox is doing today and the very, very interesting space of insure tech. I think you'll really enjoy this conversation, especially if you're a techie. So let's take a break, come back, and have this chat with Piyush. Hey Piyush, hi, welcome to Shunya One. So good to see you after a long, long time.
Same here, man. Awesome to see you.
I know we have caught up in the real world in the past. Abhi virtual milna ho raha hai. But I hope to do so actually also at some point. But it's been quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah, we met back in 2018 or 19.
Correct.
Yeah, before COVID, pre-COVID.
Exactly. And your personal journey as, let's say, an entrepreneur, founder to obviously now, the CTO at Coverfox. I mean, I think you've also been a part of the startup ecosystem in India in various stages and phases. So why don't we start off, just for everyone listening in to give them some background of your personal journey a little bit, like why you got into what you did, the early days, the early startup successes, failures, and of course, to what your journey has taken you to now?
I feel I am more of an engineer than a founder. I really like the some of the things that I have done in my career. Founding companies is very hard, and I have never upbringing wise also I am not very risk taker kind of mentality. So specifically when it comes to money, etc., like business wise.
But you're a builder, which is what engineers are. So builder hote ho to it's formula for founders anyway.
Yeah, that is there, but like mostly I've always been a builder. So back from school days actually. So I saw 486 computer that was there in my school, and there was a very nice computer teacher who came from US and taught us came back from US and he taught us some QBasic and some general programming, and I was really like somehow madly deeply in love with programming since like I was in 6th or 7th standard. We didn't had computers back then, right?
Right.
You would remember those days.
It would only be labs.
There was no phone, no internet, no internet was just not there. I'm talking about 96, 97, right? When I first saw a computer. Computers were all these green screen kind of things, but so it started from back then. Like I've been coding. I was that time all these magazines used to be really big, Digit, Chip.
Yeah.
It was called, and there were a lot of articles. So I read about this particular editor, Hindi editor, which was phonetic in nature. So Visbig, what you type is what you get. So because Hindi is or Hindi or Kannada, the languages are like what you write is how you also pronounce them. So and it was really fascinating. So I designed a Hindi editor. It took me about like lot of time to do that. That's essentially was the start. Then suddenly one day I saw HTML. That was the first time I saw the internet. So somebody taught me some basic HTML, and it was really fascinating. So I've been coding, I've been coding since then. Even in college, I was like, I was in a different stream, like normal engineers do when they get not the choice of the branch is not a luxury that used to be there back then at least. But I always was coding. I was coding web programming. I was on Ruby on Rails in 2006. It came out, I think, in 2004. And so I've been coding web programming, PHP, Node.js.
You've seen all the language variations basically over the years and choices of language also. Nice.
I didn't have to do CGI, but yeah, I'm thankful for that.
That was
mostly started with PHP.
Yeah.
PHP, Perl, Ruby, Python, a little bit. Yeah, Node.js, JavaScript. I've seen how, back in the day when Rhino, JavaScript interpreter, or a framework rather, I would say, it was pre-Node.js. And at that time, we had these, one of the programmers was really crazy about server-side JavaScript. And we used to mock him like, JavaScript like on server-side. But like now look at the world, like it has completely changed.
Fully Java on the server. Yeah.
So like that's what I have been doing. I've been doing web programming since start, like because like I really liked it. I worked with Clevertap in very early days. After a brief stint at another company, I joined Clevertap, and I had a really crazy time learning web programming, learning product building. Because they're some of the guys there, and the company itself is a pioneer in
I would say so,
to some extent in terms of like clean design and building a product and building great user flows. A lot of people have gotten fired because of the people that were there initially, and I was one of them. I got really fired that it doesn't have to be like 99 website GeoCities. It can be neat and clean and like an easy to use application. After that, I was building a core banking system kind of thing for microfinance companies, which was a really alternate thing that was I was doing in terms of domain, but it somehow got into that. Again, a great mentor, and really loved working on that product. Then I joined microfinance. Bust happened, and this was SaaS before it was called SaaS. So we were selling this software as a SaaS offering, and that allowed microfinance companies to work as a cohesive digital entity, which was working pretty well. But then this 2010-11 types, there was a big thing happened in microfinance, and a lot of my clients who were there went under. We were doing pretty decent amount of business back then, but suddenly market changed. Then I joined this new company named Ola, and I met Bhavish one day and Ankit Bhati, and I decided that I want to join. A lot of people.
This was when Ola was in Bombay, and Powai.
Ola was in Bombay, had not built an app and not started the A2B business. It was mostly a rental company that back then, but they had raised money to build this, and we wanted to actively build it. That's when it started. We were mostly running off a call center. There was no app back then. Mostly people were not like that. Just 2012, early 2012, mobile had just started. Yeah, it was like a crazy ride. Early days of Ola, it was maddening. It was really, really crazy. Learned quite a lot. Yeah, Ola. I saw the real power of mobile phones at that point of time. Ola, I feel, was at the right point, right? When the sensors, GPS sensors, before that was not something that you put in a car, or map driven driving was not something that people believed that could happen.
Was possible.
Just just like you don't right now you don't see how autonomous cars can happen in India, right? I mean, that was the day. Can mapping even work in India? That's kind of. I'm not saying autonomous cars will happen in India. I'm just saying that it was very crazy to even think.
Yeah, it's the skepticism is similar, right? Because you just can't understand. Okay, how will this ever work? But true.
Because US or Western world is so organized when it comes to public places, and so disorganized when it comes to here. It was like map driving was something, map navigation was something that was considered pretty much a Western thing.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean it was really wonderful that it really happened. In last 10 years, I feel the country has accelerated like crazy in terms of
course,
changing the urban landscape, and even in people's the kind of enablement that digital India has done, right? I mean the YouTubes and the internet itself. When I was in school, and when you were also in school, I believe that having so much information or so much knowledge, places
was unheard
where
of, and we didn't even think it was possible. We used to have to go to the library at most, which also is a finite store.
Very finite and very restrictive, comparatively. Yeah. So it has really accelerated. I mean, the whole world has in a way, but for us, it has been really transformative. I believe even in 1999, 2000, if you really wanted to learn HTML, there were not good websites, not a lot of good websites that were there.
You have to get the dummies book maybe, And that was your first sort of
Really
entry
horrible.
level. Yeah.
Those books were not like,
Even in those early days, you've been part of these iconic sort of companies, I would say, at the early stage, right? Ola. What was the kind of thought at that time of? I mean, there's the business side of things, like, hey, we must build this sort of company and hence take the market opportunity. It's a large opportunity. Something will change, etc., etc. But on your domain, right, on the tech side, were there limitations to or challenges to even build tech out? In each of the cases, even Cleartrip for that matter, early Cleartrip was obviously path breaking, but I'm sure under the hood there was a lot going on which had to be, figured out, which was novel. Same with Ola. And since then, I'm sure all of these companies have gone through like 5 rewrites or 10 rewrites. But how did it look in those early stages of these big companies?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. At that point of time, Java was not really this, established language. It was like a lot of it was PHP, to be honest, or Perl, and people like there was no JavaScript library also, like which was very established. jQuery was just coming out when we were there, and there were like these smaller libraries which are like Prototype or JS.
Yeah. So was it more like, I mean, when you hired a team, let's say, or when you had to hire new engineers, you obviously looked at IIT and the pool of people around, but talent was also short. Like there were not people away, let's say, equipped on these newer platforms also.
In Cleartrip, we never hired specifically from IITs. In fact, most of the people at that point of time, didn't want to join a startup. They did not know what a startup was. Starting your own company was not something that you did back then.
Correct.
Where I come from, people
very few people did.
Very people even think that you can actually start a company. I mean, that's just like companies are just there. You join them. You don't start one. And that has been a major shift, right? I mean, people now believe that people can start companies and people can run large successful companies from grounds up. They can boot it up if you're challenging in terms of hiring people. But there were FSF groups. There were people who were very interested in open source, and you could chat with them on IRC and all of that. And smart young freshers who would like to learn new things, they were still there. I mean, I didn't know any Ruby on Rails before 2006. I started doing some Ruby on Rails I started doing Ruby on Rails first time in Cleartrip. We were also very I would say, that thing is there, right? When you don't know how hard it is, then you are a little bit foolish, but it becomes a little bit easier also, because you don't know that,
because you don't think of it as such a big problem.
Yeah, you don't feel that it can't be done with, or it can't be done with only 2 or 3 engineers. Then you try, and things are also easier, I would say, because less number of abstraction layers are there. So I've always been a full stack engineer pre-React days. React, I have very hard time picking up, but in pre-React days it was yes, admittedly very dirty code comparatively, and very haphazard, at least on the front end side. But we could make it work with whatever tools were there. These tools were, I would say, also more closer to the metal. The kind of power you get is more. You can do more things than it is what it is designed. When you have a lot of framework and a lot of layering, then you can do only those things.
Yeah.
Those things are easier to do. But yeah,
that's the advantage of, let's say, someone who is a full stack also, right? You're actually interested in understanding how these lower layers of the stack can be made more optimal, can be made more efficient. So you'll obviously build your, understanding of technologies accordingly. Which also brings me to the next iconic company. I think now in retrospect, you can also say was BrowserStack, which also you were very early on at, and that was not just software, obviously, I mean, on the surface, but I remember a story you once told me about the fact that so much understanding of hardware also that you had to do when building the Rails of BrowserStack. How was that experience?
BrowserStack is a very unique company, I would say. I mean, when you look at it, you can't say that it started from Andheri and it has a product which is
global unicorn,
and product that is truly right up there, better than most of the Valley competitors. That's generally not how, at least till that time, Indian stories were there. But these two guys are certified crazy, right? I mean, they both are like completely unhindered by whatever is there has been there, and they're ready to write their own playbook, and that was required because both Ritesh and Nakul are really like they know what they're doing. First of all, they would not take anything half. They will not take anything even at 90%. They want at things at 100%. So that always was the driving factor. Yeah. And it's a hard problem. It's a really hard problem because it's also very messy. Once you have built it, there would very few people who would actually try to build it again because
So what was the challenge there? Like, what made you actually go from, let's say, Ola to Browser Stack, and how did that actually happen? What was it like early days?
Ola, when we started, we were like in clear trip mode. 10, 20 engineers trying to build something. We built the apps. We got the driver app running. There were a lot of flaws in the early days. And the hardware was also not up to the mark. But then after some time, we realized that, it requires many more engineers than what we can hire in Mumbai. So we started office in Bangalore. And then we realized that there's so much talent there that, positions that we thought will never got filled in a day. And that's when they took a call to shift completely. And I didn't want to like you. I was a true blue Mumbaikar that time, so I didn't want to move out from Mumbai and move completely to Bangalore. I did work there for 1 more year, but I realized that I need to do something. And BrowserStack has been there. Like I've been meeting them. I know a lot of people there still. Like they've been a very interesting company since very start. I really wanted to also work in a pure tech company at some point of my career because I've been doing only web programming, which is like script kiddies. And BrowserStack was really like at the forefront. So one day, definitely living away from the headquarters doesn't really help you. One day I decided to jump the ship. Yeah.
Wonderful. On that note, I'm going to take a quick break, come back. Piyush, I mean, I think the story of all of these sort of iconic companies to now what you're, again, building in the current age of startups in India is what I want to get into. But before that, a short break and we'll come right back. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Piyush about obviously his journey as a builder, as an engineer. Like I was saying, you've been, instrumental in building actually the early stack of a lot of these companies. And then, of course, you had your own founder stint as well. Early Bombay founder also, I would say, which is probably when I first got a chance to interact with you. So tell us a little bit about Dormint, which was your own startup.
So Dormint started off as a services company, online app-based services. This was 2015 and we were very
correct.
By that time, it was very sure that, mobiles have happened. Everything will move to mobile. Flipkart went app only, right? You remember Myntra went app only.
Myntra went app. Yes.
Yeah. So those crazy days were there. Like people realized some backtracking happened, but apps were very sure. Like they were the future. We were like Clap had just started. And there were a bunch of these startups that were happening. We started a laundry app basically because we felt that, it's a very large problem set because people are buying newer, like better clothes. People are buying more modern clothes. And there's no way for a single person or a young couple don't have a time and space to, laundry. And the quality dry cleaning kind of startups, like shops are really expensive. You are buying Zara clothes, you're buying Mango clothes, you're like buying all these branded expensive clothes and you can't really give it to the dhobi. And neither you can give it to the dry cleaner. So there was a middle path. I think we built a significant enough traction there. The problem is at that point of time was obviously there was a bit of a funding slump that happened in between. We raised some money, Series A, I would say, small Series A round. We took the company to Google Accelerator in Mountain View, and it was a very fun learning experience. Learned a lot about digital marketing, a little bit of growth hacking, etc. Obviously, there were teams doing it, but I was there learning directly from these people and learned a little bit about product management, about funnel analysis and things like that. App worked out well in terms of booking a laundry, etc. But the unit economics was not there. Unit economics was really poor because of more than 2 legs of delivery and pickup. Hyperlocal was still very nascent back then. And in hindsight, maybe there were like issues of acquiring wrong types of customers, deal hunters, and discount coupon looking guys, super look. And maybe the value would have been more if we would have looked for more deeply for people who really had this problem and were not shy of spending a little bit of money on getting the laundry done. But I feel the problem is still there. There is nobody who has solved this problem in the way that we thought that we would solve it. Like, and
I was definitely a user, so I remember it was useful as long as it was around.
And we got that feedback from a lot of people, but then it didn't happen. So
interesting. Bringing us to, obviously, then you went back to the startup ecosystem at large. I think you had a second stint at Ola, and then further now, obviously you are the CTO at Coverfox. So how has that been? And what are your learnings from the second phase as well? Because I think very few people get to do these sort of early stage when everything is new, kind of a situation in a company, to founding, to now coming into, let's say, a fully functioning, well-oiled machine of a company, and then trying to solve bigger problems.
I mean, founders get to see that, and some fortunate people get to see that. But it teaches you a lot. It teaches you the initial decisions that you take and how they pan out, the mistakes and the good things that you do bake in early into the company, the culture, the team, the people, and the products also. As an engineer, it teaches you quite a lot. Always there are shortcomings in the design that you do, early decisions that you take, and how they, become a monstrous problem. I had some cockroaches there. Like, Ola was literally a nuclear bomb on top of some of my systems. Some of them survived. I was very thankful that some of them survived. Most of them did not. They were like, they died in various different reasons and the various different settings they died. And but some of them did survive. Obviously, I mean, we had grown from the time I had left and from the time I joined. It has grown 100x. And the number of, just looking at number of kind of scale, right? And it grew 2-3 times from there. It was really work, because this time when I joined, I had always had this. I have never seen like such large scale, like massive scale, like million RPM kind of scale, and that taught you quite a lot. Like, then you realize that if these companies, like the decisions that you took, the systems that you built, and if they were not robust enough, then they would not survive. They will give very hard time to people. They will curse you. Some people who will say that this is the original guy who wrote this. But you took those decisions basis the thought process that you had, or the world vision, the worldview that you had at that point in time. But the worldview changes very drastically after some time. It was really, really enriching experience. I saw through many churns in the second one also, in terms of scalability. That was pretty much the key thing that we worked on, the app scalability, making it scale to tens of millions rides per day kind of scale. It's not easy. It's a very hard problem. And this time also you realize that you as a leader can really change things. It's not just cog in the wheel. The decisions that you take have far-reaching ramifications. So it's a different world, much more structured, much less crazy.
Right.
But more, I mean, if you're really sincere about the work you do, this will teach you much more in terms of generalist versus specialist kind of.
So tell us about then finally, of course, now in the tech part of the ecosystem, definitely you're a veteran now. Right now at Coverfox, which is a whole another new, let's say, domain you've entered from the various, let's say, domains that businesses that you've been a part of. But I can imagine technology and technology stacks are similar, but there's obviously a lot of choices, a lot of decisions, a lot of innovations that you may have to do based on the domain and the business that you're in.
Right.
Coverfox is obviously in the business of insurance. It's tech-driven insurance. Within, let's say, the larger fintech story of India, it's one of those, if I may call it, insure tech I mean, now since it's a little popular, commoditized, you can say. So what was the vision going in? And, can you tell us a little bit about how you're building the business out? What are the various pillars of the tech stack, especially?
So tech stack is the key that is there for Coverfox, and I'll definitely cover that in a bit. But the problem statement is very simple. It's actually to some extent just like early days of Clevertap or early days of Ola. This world has not happened yet, so it seems very ridiculous that 100,000 or 500,000 drivers would be driving taxis on Indian roads, and everyone will be using map navigation, or people will be 50% of the flight bookings will come from digital channel. That's just not possible. Like, if you talk to an insurance guy, because they see only 1 to 2% digital channel, happening. And despite not that people are not pouring money into it, just not happening. So, and even if it happens,
and this is the current stat. Is that what it is? Like 1-2% of the industry of insurance is digitally purchased. Wow.
Yeah. And it is it is not a very different number across the world. Actually, most of the insurance is still sold in a push kind of manner, right? I mean, you buy insurance either when it is mandated, like a motor insurance, or it's given to you by the company, like the group health insurance that you have,
right.
Or there is some very uncertainty hits you in terms of life event that happens, or when you hit certain life events like marriage or childbirth, or you buy a home.
Correct.
Then you think of like, what if something happens, and then people buy term insurance. So that's how it is. But most of it requires, like, you put in a number and there will be hundreds of calls that come to your phone, and people push you in buying, or that is the digital world actually. And the non-digital world is like, a guy who is an agent, and mostly you buy from them. And they serve a purpose. They serve a big purpose. That's why these products have not moved significantly to digital, even though it's a very large industry. Insurance in India is more than $100 billion per annum revenue, not market cap. Right? It's a
wow.
very
Okay,
large.
and you're talking about, and this is not premium. Is this like some of premiums paid, or
this is some of premium paid? Just GWP we call it, but it's like it's sum of all premium paid in a year.
It's $100 billion.
It's almost 7.5 lakh crore if you convert it in Indian rupee, or now very close to 8 lakh crore, I think. And this is life plus general combined. General means motor, health, fire, house, anything non-life. And life products are essentially two. Health comes in general insurance mostly, and life products cover two. Life covers asset kind of product where you buy a product and there is a pension guarantee or savings plan, like LIC, and return, guaranteed return, or works mostly like a
investment product.
Like an investment product, but it comes with a cover. It comes with a cover of, say, that if something bad happens, then this. And then there is pure term plans. Term plans are pure protection. You don't get anything at the end of it. Or there are now newer products called return of premium, where you just get the return of the premium at the end of the term product. But life products are 50% of the market, and general insurance roughly 50% of this market. Or it's like 60-40, but something like that. It's not very different. And both are different set of companies. There are almost 50 companies, more than 50 companies actually, which offer insurance. And still we are at, there is a metric which tells how much insured you are as a country. So we are like a 2 to 3% of the GDP being insured kind of country.
Wow.
Right? And
so massive room for growth.
Yeah, in US it is like, in China it is like 11%, as far as I remember, and in US it is even bigger number. So I mean, huge room for growth, and not just that. The biggest thing that I see is that these products are so complicated that it requires a push sales, right? And that's what the whole promise of InsurTechs essentially is. That the products themselves have to become so much simpler. so much easier to buy that you should be able to just buy it, like or it should just be invisibly embedded like a warranty product. When you are buying a laptop, you're buying Apple Care, which is like a warranty. And when you're buying a phone, you just click a checkbox and you get a scratch or a theft protection. Or when you're buying a ticket on a travel website and you are just checking the travel tick, right?
Insurance.
So these are embedded flows where you just embed insurance product along with the contextual like e-commerce sales that is happening, or not even physical sales. And these products sometimes cross over to the warranty world, which is non-insurance, so to speak. But one very interesting thing about insurance is actually a data science problem, right? If you think about it, how do they decide these premiums? Right? They decide these premium on probability charts, basically, saying that somebody living in Bombay having a Maruti car of this particular make model and these many years, what is the chances of them getting into an unfortunate accident, or having a theft, or having a water damage, or having a number of bad scenarios, basically, and calculating probabilities, all of it, multiplying the cost of that, and then spreading it across their portfolio.
All buyers,
and they're saying what is for the buyers, and it's basically nothing else. It's a data science problem in a way. It's basically
it's interesting that you put it. That's like a nice quote for this episode, of course. So and it's true. I think it resonates with. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
If you look at any macro number, right? I mean, macro numbers are generally very stable. Like, pick up any macro number. They don't like fluctuate like really badly. I mean, if you look at, say, for instance, deaths due to TB, you know how that number is. You know how many accidents happen on a per annum basis.
Yes.
Policies and systems can improve those numbers on a year-on-year basis, but they don't suddenly change, fall off. But the micro risk, that at a micro level, at a person level, there is the probability of it can vary very widely because of various factors, environmental factors, personal factors, or just plain randomness.
Yeah.
Hit by a bus.
The chaos of it.
Yeah, the chaos of it. Like you like, for instance, you can using these models, you can predict the general trend, but you can't say what exactly will happen to this particular person, or this particular car, or this particular anything. So that's what it does. It basically takes the insurance takes the risks and spread it out at a population level, and then manages the risk for people. I mean, a lot of problems that we see around, they can be actually tackled by insurance. For instance, farmer suicide. Most of the farmer suicide that happen because of crop failures. And crop failures are something that can be insured against, and now being insured. Similarly, weather events. Actually, weather events can also be insured against, because to a very good level of probability of cyclone happen. I mean, cyclones, if you see, they happen in a particular month most of the time.
In a pattern.
They generally, most of the weather people are like worried that there is no cyclone that has happened till now, because that's a cyclone month. Mostly it will happen, and they know where it will hit. So, but extreme weather events can be obviously they are increasing due to climate change, etc. But the point is that if you are not insured against it, then it can really ruin your livelihood. It's like, there's some very interesting tidbits. Like, for instance, you can't buy a term insurance if you do not have a proof of the income. Like, I don't know why it is like that, but it is like that. Try to buy a term insurance without proof of income. You will most probably not be able to buy one. And there's no reason, because term insurance is like just pure protective cover for your life. But you can't buy if you don't have
a job,
you don't have
or something,
a job, or you business, you have a business and you don't have it in organized sector, and you don't have a verifiable income, then you can't buy. There's something called surrogate proof, and you can use those surrogate proof to say that what is your income level. But if you don't have them, then you will not be able to cover the risk.
But that's a question of policy, right? Or is it part of this data science problem that you said earlier?
I feel it is part of the data science problem, because people, like the insurers, try to contain their risk in terms of fraudulent behavior, or people misusing it, basically. And that's why they try to peg these things around various different date numbers that are there. That leads to various such unique things in product. For instance, they don't test you in most of the health product, but they will say that you have a mandatory waiting period for 24 months. They could just test you and say that, okay, now anything that happens from tomorrow is covered. But no, they would say pre-existing diseases, PEDs, won't be covered for 24 months. And that's their way of saving themselves, because they also know that testing is not 100%. Like, some of these things are and also the distribution cost is really high. Like, it's in percentages, the distribution cost. What that means is that because of the push nature of these products, and that people are not so well aware of these products, the effort required to sell a particular product is very high. And that's where the power of embedded insurance comes in. It's basically, embedded insurance is basically an API for insurance. Insurance as a service, basically. And you can think of it like a API that you hit to just cover the risk. As simple as that.
Is this you would say is one of those core innovations that you at Coverfox and the team are sort of solving for? The fact that this is the approach to make insurance a lot more. I mean, there is the business angle of it, right? The fact that people should be covered. Many examples like you gave, like it's one is awareness that they can be covered. Second is just ability to make the decision faster or more natural. So how have you seen the performance of this sort of embedded approach versus any other approach to push this?
So embedded approach is working quite well, I would say. It's still nascent. I won't say that it is ready to, it has already taken over the primary product. It has not. Like, primary products are still like these big irons which cover all kinds of, and for all kind of people. And that's why insurance companies would like to sell them, because the premiums are higher. One particular product that you sell is large. But these are actually like sachet, basically. These embedded insurance products are mostly like sachet. And the most uninsured also lives in the areas where sachet products work the best, right? And which is the rural market, or the semi-urban market, or even urban market, where people do not have like formal income proof, right? There you can sell these sachet products, which are very cheap, low cost, and gives cover to the risk that really matters to that particular person, right? And it's very easy to buy, extremely easy to buy without any much paperwork, and easy to understand also, because it covers only a part of the risk. It doesn't. It is not very difficult to understand. There's no crazy words like endowment or things like that. Today I don't know the real meaning of. So the point of embedded insurance is this sachetization, easing the product and making the product much more simpler, and then wider distribution. Like, somebody can probably build a UPI for insurance and make it like a single product across insurers, a simple product, but like, singular API, so that everyone can use. To answer your question about Coverfox is basically working on these two. We have started a new company called CoverStack. It is basically technology for insurance, technology for insurance distribution. We basically cater to both of these areas, where one, we are selling embedded insurance, and the other is where we are, allowing the existing financial institutions or other companies to sell insurance to their existing customer through their existing platform. So, for instance, ICICI Direct is one of the customers that has onboarded us, and we are selling insurance on ICICI Direct through the journeys that we have built in CoverStack. They obviously, have a huge client base who buy all kinds of products. So we provide a bouquet of product there. We also have tied up with Spinny. Spinny is as you know, as a used car market. Yeah. Insurance for them is a hassle, or just like a normal person is a hassle. It's a hassle. We take care of that. We provide an API that directly integrates with their CRM and issues the policy as soon as the car is sold. So these are embedded flows, right? These are not really sachet flows. The sachet flow comes into places where there are people who are like, NBFCs who are already giving loans out to people. The biggest reason a normal person is not able to pay, intent issue is apart from intent issue, not ability to pay, is because they have a health problem. So a lot of these NBFCs try to add a small ticket size insurance product. It's like 300 rupees for an annum, that kind of premium. But it covers only 500 rupees per day of hospitalization. That's about. It's called HospiCash. So it's a hospital cash. So till the time you are in the hospital, give you some money. So these kind of products are very innovative. These are sachet products. These get embedded into the loan disbursement flow, get added to the person, and automatically the risk cover is added. And this, in a way, helps both. It's a win-win. It's a win-win for the loan company and the person who is taking the loan. And insurer also wins because they are getting extra premium. I mean, without any major customer acquisition effort, because there is already a large distributor. You don't have to acquire a customer, sell it, the push sales to them. It's just an API that you are providing. And we are providing that API, basically. So that's the problem.
No, so this cover stack is obviously quite another level of innovation, I would say, within the InsurTech community that you guys are building. But again, and I think it's basically because you realize the problem is this, right? It is that access, the ability to sell it, distribution problem. Like all of these things are what you're essentially solving for. And on the back end, obviously, you're doing all the heavy lifting of like the data science problem, like you said, as to how much, what value, what premium, etc., etc.
We would love to do the data science problem. That's mostly, insurers who do the data science problem. Yeah. I am more like I'm more of a pipe, right? I mean, I'm connecting all the insurers on a singular platform as a singular API. It's more like a payment gateway, or it's more like a API to do things in a singular way. That's about.
And so then so now you've seen these sort of avenues of growth. You've obviously, this is, because it's in the fintech space, you're a layer. So you're obviously monetized sort of a product. What is this? Is this now a scale challenge for you going forward? Like what is the next 18, 24 months for you? What are the focus areas? Give us a little bit of direction on what you're thinking around.
So yes, definitely scale is a big chunk for it. We also need to figure out a lot of things in product to make sure, there's so many people, so many companies who would like to sell insurance to their existing client base, and we deploy this platform at various ends. But the speed of deployment can be faster. Product portfolio can be more wider. The time and effort that it requires to deploy for a new ICICI direct kind of client can be smaller, and product can be simpler. So a lot of things have to be figured out. I would say we are still pretty much into the 0 to 1 kind of cycle, but I don't see the next step being very far away, because we already have a lot of MVPs there, I would say, and it's working well in terms of having a minimum viable product. But now, yes, there's still things to be figured out in product, and once we have figured them out, then we can push the pedal for next step.
Nice. What are you looking for now? You spoke so much about the startup ecosystem in your early days to obviously what you see today. You have become a Bangalore person from your origins in Bombay. Obviously, the market is so different. But what are you looking forward to? You want to leave a message to listeners who are interested in this space, or even looking to start up or anything else?
No, I feel insurance is a great career space to build. Like I mentioned, I mean, it's a pretty large industry, and it's a very specialized industry. Most of the companies work pretty much in the same manner, right? Once you get into it, and there's a lot of jargon, like, oh my God, jargon. So once you get into it and you understand the market, it's a specialized market, but it's a large market. You can build a career. So any youngsters who are willing to try out their career space in insurance, would love to talk to them. You can reach out to me on my LinkedIn. I am on Twitter also, and would love to this space can definitely use a lot more talent than it has got now till now. I mean, the ride hailing, the travel, the e-commerce has had seen a lot of influx of youngsters who were willing to solve the problem, and a lot of them got solved. I think insurance is ripe for disruption. There, not disruption. It's more like scale up, where it will go much more wider. It will become much bigger than what it is right. So I feel yes, the message is definitely. I feel that just like the 2006 of Clevertap, I see cover stack at in 2022 at the same level. I feel next 10 years are going to be like really transformative for the insurance industry. If you're a builder, would more than happy to talk.
No, definitely. Because I mean, given the stats you shared with us earlier in terms of percentage of tech distribution of insurance, plus global numbers, all of that, I think as a country, as a population, we obviously are warming up to getting insured, and then there is digitalization of it, or the digital journey of buying insurance. So definitely,
and
it does seem like early days. Yeah. Piyush, I mean, I think reflecting on the conversation, I think given the fact that you've been part of these sort of breakthrough journeys, I think now it makes total sense that you'll, this is also going to be another breakthrough journey over the years for you.
I hope so.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this insight with us. It's obviously a lot of the people in the startup ecosystem today sort of are seeing the current phase only. They've seen it, or they're getting into the fray when it's already established. So now, I mean, we have other problems of too much bloat of engineers and too much, other challenges are there. While I said, people who want to work on tough problems should always try to join actual places which will help them grow. I think that's the recommendation you're also saying. So look forward to sharing, the details with everyone here. Thank you so much for this conversation. Of course, for people listening in, if you like this, if you want to reach out to Piyush, we'll share all the places where you can reach him. And of course, for us, wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, leave us a review and a rating, as they say, so that we can do better and we can spread the word. Piyush, thank you so much. This was enlightening.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, really nice conversation. Thank you so much.
No, absolutely. I know I owe you a catch up next time I'm in Bangalore, but this was really great. I'm glad we could do this. Thank you so much.